Today we're going to be looking at how to change your battery in your electric skateboard the right way so that you stay safe and you don't fry any of the electronics that's inside your skateboard. Some of the reasons why you might consider changing the battery in your electric skateboard is because you simply want an upgrade to get more range out of your board. Maybe you've been riding your board for so long that the battery just doesn't hold the charge like it used to, or maybe you want to downgrade your battery so that it becomes travel friendly. So this method of swapping your battery is suitable for electric skateboard companies that use a battery pack that looks similar to this and has these two cables. Some of these companies include Team G, who have graciously supplied me with the battery and the board in order for me to do this video for you guys. Meepo, Backfire, Wowgo, Lycon, just to name a few. There are lots of eSkate companies out there that use this method. Some companies that these instructions are not suited for are Evolve, Tramper, Lacroix, Cali, Bio boards, any of the high-end builds. They have different battery methods and you should definitely not be following these instructions for those boards. In saying that, these are highly powerful electric devices, and if things do go south, then it could be detrimental to both your safety and the electronics in your board, both of which we don't want to happen. So if you're not sure what you're doing, please ask the questions before you do anything. Ask in the comments, ask on the eSkate Builders forums. Just make sure that you know what you're doing before you make any changes. But I don't want to scare you, that's exactly what this video is for. I'm going to show you exactly how to properly change your battery in your eSkateboard without hurting yourself or your board. All right, let's get to it. What are the things that you're going to need in order to swap out your battery in your electric skateboard? Well, of course, you're going to need your board, your new battery, your trusty T-tool, an Allen key or a hex key. Hopefully the company has sent you one with your board. If not, they're fairly cheap. You're just gonna have to make sure that you get the right size for the Allen key screws that are in your board. And if your electric skateboard has the grip tape covering the screws on top of the deck of the board, like a lot of eSkate companies are doing at the moment, then you're also going to need a hairdryer and a Stanley knife. The easiest way to take the grip tape off without leaving any adhesive on the deck is to use the hairdryer and lightly warm up the grip tape, so when you pull it back, it easily peels off with the adhesive stuck to the grip tape. Once it's nice and warm, you get your Stanley knife and you just lift up the edges and you just pull back. So it's going to be a bit loud, but let's see how we go. Oh, that comes off a dream. So this right here is the cable that runs from the battery pack down to the ESC, which controls the motors. I really tore off some of that timber coming off that grip tape adhesive. When pulling back the grip tape, you've got to be real careful that this tape that is covering the crevice that these cables run through doesn't come off. You can see that it's stuck here to this grip tape. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to pull that off. The best way to separate this tape from the grip tape is just with your box cutter. Slowly ease it off. You don't want to stretch this one too much. So the mistake that I made here was making the grip tape too hot. All right, grip tape is off. So what you're gonna do now is grab your Allen key and start untightening the screws that hold this battery case together. There's no need to undo the one at the back because that's the ESC. We're just focused on changing the battery. Now we need to make sure that we've got the right Allen key. This one doesn't fit these screws. That's actually for the motor. So I've got myself a handy little drill bit set and I'm going to use a drill for this. It's just so much quicker. If you don't have a drill, that's fine. Just use an Allen key. It's just going to take a little bit longer. I have to go through and find the right size. You can also use star bits. Sometimes they've got sharper corners, which is nice. Yeah, I'm going to use this. it's got a nice little waterproof gasket here around the casing. That's nice to see. And here's the battery. Fits nice and snug inside this completely metal casing. So at the moment there is a 9.6 amp hour battery in there, and I'm swapping it to a 7.5 amp hour battery. That might sound crazy to reduce the power like that, but the reason I'm doing it is because the TMG H20 Mini comes stock with the 7.5 amp hour battery, and I'll be doing a full review of this electric skateboard. So when that's up, you'll be able to see that. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell button, and like this video so that you don't miss out on that review. So here's the most important part about swapping the battery. It's the order in which you take these cables off. We'll unhook this big yellow XT60 cable first, make sure that one's out of the way. Pop, that's easy done. And secondly, we'll take this little controller out. Done. And there you have it. That's all taken out. Now to hook this one up, it's the same thing, but in reverse. So here's another important thing that you need to note when changing this connector is that you can see here, there's a red and a black cable. On here, it's a little bit harder to see because of this casing, but just in here is a red and black cable. So you need to line up the red and black so that they join together once these are clipped in. And you want to remember to do the small cable first. Make sure it's nice and well snug. Then the bigger cable comes next. And it's important to note that the red and black cable needs to line up with the red and black cable in here. Good thing about these connectors is that they can only go on one way. It can't go on the opposite way. Plug her in just like that. And when we put it back in the case, we need to be very careful about where these cables go. You can see in this case that on this side, there is a little bit of a cutout in this bracket here. The cables fit nice and snugly in there. If you happen to put it the wrong way around, those cables are going to lean against this bracket and potentially cut them, causing all sorts of problems. Let's go in like that. Make sure it's in nice and snug. Hide those cables a little bit. Put this gasket back on. Hide these cables in there. It's a bit tricky. All right, sounds good. That doesn't look good. Make sure you're very careful of this kind of thing. You do not want that to happen. So here's a tricky part. We need to line up the holes together. Let's get a closer look for you. You can't quite see the holes through. There you go. You've got to line up these holes and then hold it in place while we turn it over. Oh, the best thing to do is do the corners first, just to hold that battery in place. Don't do these corners up too tight initially, because you need to make sure that the whole casing is straight. If these are too tight, then they can cause some issues when you're tightening up the other ones. So I'll go around and plug these into the holes just to make sure that they get through. Yeah, nice. Oh, it's because it's already got a nut. The nut is stuck inside the casing. Ah, piece of cake. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is reapply this grip tape. TMG have been awesome. They actually sent me some more grip tape to use. They must have known that the old stuff was gonna get destroyed. All right, so I've got 2 brand new sets. I suppose they know that I'm gonna put the big battery in after I do that review. So in this case, TMG has already pre-cut the grip tape for me, which is super handy. Usually you'll have a big rectangular piece to go around the deck, you stick it down and then you cut the edges off. So in this case, it's super simple. What you want to do is make sure that the deck is nice and clean on top and there's no dust and debris. That will help the grip tape adhere to the deck and not peel off. So grab the grip tape and peel off the backing all the way to take the whole thing straight off. And you'll want to line up both the ends. This is a little bit tricky because it is already pre-cut. On a regular grip tape, it's going to be much easier to make sure that it covers over the whole deck. So I'm just going to line up the grip tape and work my hand down it just to release all of the air bubbles inside it. So once it's stuck down, just go around, make sure there's no air bubbles, and flatten out all of the edges where you're most likely to get some peeling. Then just do the exact same thing on the other side. Alrighty skaters, that's it. That's how you change the battery on your electric skateboard. I hope you've learned something. If you have, please like, hit subscribe and that notification bell button, because I've got a lot more videos like this coming out to teach you how to look after your electric skateboard, and a ton more reviews. This one in particular, and a few here that you can see down the side. If you have any questions about how to swap out the battery on your electric skateboard, please ask in the comments below. I don't want you to hurt yourself or ruin your electric skateboard. Please just ask, I'll get you the answers so everyone is safe. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Ride safe out there, eSkaters, and I'll see you in the next one.